Several studies across the world have indicated that heart attacks are more likely to take place on a Monday. There's also empirical data to show a strong correlation between Monday being the start of the work week and these sudden deaths. Do you know anyone who absolutely hates their job, complains about it all day, every day, but still turn up every Monday morning? I'm sure you know someone who fits that description, and that is why in this week's video I'll be teaching you how to quit your job without suffering financially. If you are interested in learning more, like the video, share it with a friend, and keep watching. Future millionaires, and thanks for staying. For those of you who are new, I am Kayla.K.Keane, and as I said before, in this week's video I'll be teaching you how to quit your job without suffering financially. Now, many persons want to leave their jobs because of many reasons. If you're really in a job that makes you unhappy, that is not compensating you properly, that you probably feel unappreciated, it's probably time for you to move on with your professional life and find something else to do. However, just going to work one day and saying, "I quit," is not going to be it, as you are an adult now and you have adult responsibilities. So, the first tip to quitting your job without suffering financially is to start saving up. I always suggest to persons, before leaving your job, you need to have at least 1 year worth of living expenses saved and put away for the start of leaving the job. Some persons are lucky enough to find a job before they actually leave a job that they are currently at, but not everyone is that lucky. And even if you find another job, always remember that you can lose your job for whatever reason. COVID-19 is the perfect example of that. It has caused a lot of people to lose their jobs, even in sectors that we once thought of as secure. So the first thing you're gonna do is start saving. You can't leave your job until you have money. To start this saving, you're gonna do it in two parts. So one, you need to start learning how to live on a budget. And if you don't know how to make a budget, I already did a video on that, so I link it here. You can pause this video, click on it, and then come back when you are finished. The second thing that you need to do is to save up an emergency fund. I have also done a video on how to start an emergency fund, and I'll also link it here so you can click on it, watch it, and come back. Now, to save up 1 year worth of living expenses, it's obviously something that you'll have to take in strides. You're not just going to get up one day and find yourself with enough money to cover 1 year worth of living expenses. So you're gonna have to be very strategic about this. So obviously, if you want to save up 1 year worth of living expenses, you must know what 1 year worth of living expenses is for you. So sit down, look at your monthly budget if you have one, and if you don't have a budget or know how to make a budget, I've already covered that, so I link it here. You can pause this video, watch it, and come back to this one. So you're going to make sure that you have a budget that's a monthly budget, and then you're going to times that by 12. So that figure is the figure that you're trying to achieve to survive 1 year after quitting your job. The reason for this is a lot of times when persons quit their jobs, they do not immediately find a job that can properly compensate them, or some of them do not find a job at all. I would suggest that you wait until you have another job before you quit your first job, unless you're going to start a business. And if you are starting a business, please do that before quitting your job. So use it as an experiment. Do it on the side and then see how it works out before you just get up and say, "I quit," right? So now that you know what 1 year worth of living expenses is, you are now going to have to sit down and break that figure up and see how much money it is that you can save on a monthly basis and how long it will take you to get to that goal. The second tip, which I alluded to in the first tip, is to start a side hustle. If there's something else that you're passionate about that is not your day job, you need to start trying your hand at it now to know if it is something that is feasible. Before starting any business, there are certain steps that you are recommended to take. One of them is doing a feasibility study. The feasibility study will basically tell you if the business makes sense and if it makes sense for you to actually invest your hard-earned money in that venture. After doing the feasibility study, look at the results of it, and if it does not make sense, abort that mission completely. Look at other things that you're good at and then do a feasibility study again. Third tip is to cut your living expenses. Many persons have unusually high amounts of expenses. So when it is that they want to quit their job, some of them are forced to stay because they have too many expenses. A great example of an expense is a loan. If you have several loans, it is going to be significantly harder for you to quit your job. So you need to look at your expenses and try to cut them down as much as possible. If you have 3 loans, you need to see how best it is that you can cut those 3 loans down to 2. If you have 2, try to cut it down to 1. The less people you owe, the freer you are in life generally, and you are more likely to be able to make decisions that will benefit you quickly if you want to do that. Persons who are in debt are slave to those who they owe, so it is way harder for them to quit their jobs. The fourth tip is to get as much training and education as possible. So if you start a job with just your high school diploma, I don't expect you to quit the job until you have furthered your education. It might not be a degree just yet, but you can do a couple courses while you are at that job so that you are more marketable. If you have done your high school diploma, you have other qualification, try your hand at doing a degree in an area that you like. So when you leave, you don't have to leave one dead-end job and go back to another dead-end job. You can go on to something better. If you already have your degree, it's probably time for you to try your hand at a master's program. It is never recommended that you leave one job the way you went there. Always try to up your game and be more marketable, be more qualified, and be more knowledgeable so that when you move on, you can make a greater impact. Every job you change, the idea in your head or the aim should be to make greater impact. All right, so that's tip number 4. The final tip number 5, is to ensure that you are making your budget on a monthly basis up to the time when you're planning to quit and sticking to it. Sticking to a budget is crucial for persons who are planning to leave a job. You need to work out your muscles as it relates to discipline. You have to be disciplined to do this. By this time, your small business should already be taking off, and now you're almost at the stage where you are ready to leave that dead-end job. Quitting your job can sometimes be one of the hardest decisions you've ever made in life. However, sometimes that job could be standing between you and your greatness, literally. So don't be afraid to make the decision, but ensure that whatever you're doing, you're very strategic and you're doing it in a way that will benefit you. I always like to remind persons, when you are quitting a job, be very respectful. If there is a policy concerning resigning from your particular job, please follow the policy as best as possible. Use it as a guide to inform the decision that you are making. Your resignation letter should also be very respectful. Remember, even if your job sucks, there were good moments at that job. There were opportunities for you to learn. There were opportunities for you to grow. So be thankful, be respectful, and be kind. You never know what might happen in life, and you might encounter some of those same persons at the job at your other job. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So be nice. Write a nice resignation letter and tell your friends bye without just quitting and nobody knows where you are. So I hope my tips were helpful, and remember, an exit strategy is a must. A strategy in life in general is a must. Do not get up and just make silly decisions because you're emotional. Don't just go to work one day and because you're mad at your co-workers you say, okay, I quit. No. Be strategic. Sit, think about it, write it down on a paper, and execute like a boss. So I hope this was helpful, future millionaires. And until next week, stay financially literate.